Greetings. I would like to welcome you to this week's African History lesson, presented by the Office of African, African American, Latino, Holocaust, and Gender Studies. Each week, I hope to bring you an engaging lesson on the history of Africa and its people. Africa and its people have made so many valuable contributions to mankind's civilization and society. These contributions are continually made today. So there are so many topics about the rich legacy and history of Africa that we can discuss. But for the sake of this week, we're going to discuss three particular topics. And those topics are Hannibal of Carthage, the city of Ife, and ancient navigators of Africa. Our learning objectives are students will be able to discuss the historical significance of Hannibal of Carthage. Students will be able to discuss the historical significance of the ancient city of Ife. And students will be able to discuss ancient navigators from Africa and the historical significance of their pre-Columbus voyages to the Americas. So let's begin. Hannibal of Carthage. Hannibal was one of the greatest military leaders in world history. He was born in the city-state of Carthage, which is the present-day country that we know as Tunisia, which is located in northern Africa. During the Punic Wars, which took place between Carthage and Rome, between 264 to 146, there were numerous battles fought, which threatened the Roman Empire. But it was during the Second Punic Wars, which made Hannibal famous. The Second Punic Wars took place between 218 and 201 BC. And it was Hannibal who led a troop of Carthaginians and their allies against Rome. In 217, he got all the way to the capital city of Rome and almost captured the city of Rome with over 90,000 troops, which was one of the largest amount of troops ever assembled in human history. And it was during this invasion that the Carthaginians became close to defeating the largest and most powerful empire, probably known to man, but also during that particular time period. Our second topic, the city of Ife. The city of Ife is an ancient Yoruba city-state in present-day Nigeria. Yoruba is a people and language spoken in West Africa and most prominently southwestern Nigeria. The history of the city of Ife is dated back to around 500 BC. And the Yoruba believe that Ife is where civilization began, as well as where the gods descended to earth. Ife literally means place of dispersion. Ife is world famous because of his art. There were artists that were creating bronze, stone, and terracotta sculptures, some which are found in museums throughout the world, most notably in Nigeria, in European cities such as London, and also North America. It was between 700 and 900 AD when the city began to develop as a major artistic center. In our subsequent slides, we see some examples of this great and beautiful art. This is a figure of a king, and this was manufactured between the 13th and 15th century, and this is made of copper alloy. On to our next piece, which is a torso of a king. And this was manufactured early to mid 16th century, also made of copper alloy. This is a brass head with crown, and this was manufactured in the early 14th century. Let's go back. On to our next topic, ancient navigators of Africa. First, we must understand that African American history did not start with slavery in the New World. There's a huge body of evidence that is emerging and has emerged that proves that Africans have frequently made voyages and navigations to across the Atlantic to the Americas. Some of these navigations and some of these voyages were thousands of years before Christopher Columbus. There was an immense evidence that Africans made contributions to early American civilization by importing art, pyramid building, engineering, political systems, and religion. The earliest documented evidence of Africans making voyages to the Americas were under King Ramses III during the 19th dynasty, and 19th Egyptian dynasty of a Kemetic dynasty in 1292 BC. Matter of fact, it was a toxicologist that reported that he found tracings of narcotics and nicotine in ancient Egyptian mummies. The thing is that these substances are only known to be derived from American plants, most notably in South America and North America. And there were also Egyptian artifacts found across the North American continent. And there were also writings as far west as the Grand Canyon that had Egyptian place names written on them. It was in 1311 AD also when King Abu Bakr II, the ruler of Mali Empire, sent out 200 ships of men to trade materials, crops, animals, cloth, and African knowledge of astronomy and religion and art with the indigenous people of modern day Brazil. And there was also a civilization that existed in central Mexico known as the Olmec civilization, which existed around 1200 BC. And they left behind what we call colossal heads, which are found in central Mexico, that exhibit features and appearances of African people. And these were discovered in 1862. And you will see these in the subsequent slides. And these are the Olmec colossal heads, which have obvious African features. And these were discovered in the present day country that we know as Mexico. As we conclude today's lesson, here are 3 review questions or questions to consider. What were the Punic Wars? Why was Hannibal significant? And which one of the Punic Wars was Hannibal significant and important or made a contribution to? The city of Ife is famous for its art. When did the city become a center of art production? Describe the types of art that was produced. What is the earliest known evidence of African exploration in the Americas? So let's take a minute to review these questions, and hopefully you will be able to answer them. As always, I like to conclude each lesson off with a quote. And this week's quote comes from Maya Angelou, great advocate and also author. And she said, the more you know your history, the more liberated you are. So take a minute as we conclude today's lesson. How did the different things that we learn apply to this quote, and how do these things empower who you are and liberate yourself? So think about this for a minute as we conclude today's lesson. So thank you for joining us for this week's lesson on African history as we discuss Hannibal of Carthage, the city of Ife, and also ancient African explorers and navigators. Hope to see you again next week. Thank you.